gentlemen, welcome to another week that promises to be highly questionable. What do you like on the show today, Bomani?
Paul George acting like a superstar, even if he doesn't really shoot like a superstar.
Dale, papi.
Was it wrong of Charles Barkley to tell Isaiah Thomas how he should grieve?
Isn't it generally wrong to tell anybody how to grieve? Isaiah Thomas lost his 22-year-old sister in a car accident this weekend. There was heartbreaking video of him during a walkthrough weeping, and here's Charles Barkley's reaction to seeing that video.
I'm not feeling comfortable with him sitting on the sideline crying like that. That makes me uncomfortable. So that tells me he's not in shape to play. I mean, I don't know how this night is going to turn out, but to be sitting on the sideline a few minutes before the game crying, that makes me uncomfortable for him. That's just not a good look, in my personal opinion.
Not a good look is where he lost me on that one, because it doesn't matter how it looks. The guy is broken and he's in public, and he happens to be broken in public. I don't know how you can look at that video and feel anything other than bad for Isaiah Thomas.
But that's exactly what Charles Barkley did. Like, focusing on the not a bad look part is fine as something to bang on Charles Barkley about. The reality is, if you were at work the day after your sister died crying at your desk, they're going to wonder if you're in shape to do your job. And when they ask you to go home, they're not doing it for you. They're doing it for everybody else. I think it's fair to ask whether or not he was in shape to play that game, because it wouldn't be unreasonable for him not to be in shape there. This is the one job where somebody's sister would die the day before, and you reasonably expect the person is actually going to be there to do the job. I understand why people thought it sounded bad from Charles, but when you listen to it, it didn't seem unfair. But while we're here, can we acknowledge it's a bit voyeuristic of us to make a big story about this man's grief? As much as we're not supposed to be telling him how to grieve, it doesn't feel good the way that we're going to capture it and then throw all our schmaltzy sports narratives on top of it, depending on what the outcome is. That part certainly has made me uncomfortable.
Are the Celtics in real jeopardy?
Well, then there is the other part. They lost this game to the Bulls, and what you saw there, especially when you saw Jimmy Butler in the fourth quarter, it was your friendly reminder that if the Celtics are going to win a championship, they're probably going to have to do it in every series not having the best player on the floor. Because as good as Isaiah Thomas has been this year, we still don't know if you can win leaning entirely on a player that small in the postseason. Don't expect this to be a Walt just because it's the 1-8 series.
The question asked to me on Friday was who was more vulnerable, the Cavs or Boston, and I didn't feel either one of them are vulnerable, not because they're not vulnerable. Everybody in the East is vulnerable, but specifically because of the opponent. Chicago wheezed into the playoffs. Chicago had a big dysfunctional controversy during the season where Rondo and Wade were going back and forth and Butler was involved. This Chicago team arrived here largely broken. The fact that they went to Boston and won at Boston, despite Chicago not even playing really well, is something that ought to concern Boston.
You want to see my favorite play for that game?
Oh, you had to do it.
This made me sad.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes it worse is he's been hurt, but it was for the elbow, and he damn near hurt it again on the rim.
Oh, that's the first game of the playoffs. Usually he's got to rehab 2 or 3 days of rest once the playoffs get going. That's the first day of the playoffs.
The last night proved that the running beard deserved the MVP more than Russell Westbrook.
One game sample. Let's knee-jerk and react to a single game. The only game that's been played so far. Houston destroys Oklahoma City. The game was close, though, through a first half. And then in the second half, Houston just slaughtered them, at least in part because Patrick Beverley was doing things you're not used to seeing Patrick Beverley do. But Harden was great last night. He was better than Russell Westbrook. Also, Russell Westbrook looked about as alone as he ever has last night because he didn't have a lot of help from Oladipo and others going 1 for 12.
Although Self-Check was actually out here hitting shots, and you think if Self-Check's going to hit wide open threes in the first half, you've got a chance. So they had Robertson hitting shots. They had James Harden 18 points on 20 shots in the first half, and it was still only close. When the Rockets started making threes like you'd expect, this game got blown completely out of proportion. But it is just one game. When you lose by 30 in the playoffs, I don't know how much you can take from it because that feels like an outlier result.
I loved another moment in this game that involved Patrick Beverley and what I thought was great camera work. Look at this. You usually don't get this in real time from the director's truck and the camera work where you go right here Beverly's happy with himself, and we're going to get closer. No, closer. Camera zooming in. Yeah, happiness personified right there. He's feeling it right there, Bo.
Is it that you usually don't get that, or you usually don't get that for a player of the caliber of one Patrick Beverly? I mean, like, if I dropped a Martian off right now, they'd be like, wow, is he one of the greatest players in the NBA?
You know, everybody's giving credit to the running beard and Beverly. How about Nene? How about Nene? He had a hell of a game, Nene. You know, I mean, that Latino player from Brazil, he really surprised everybody. He was a beast on that court last night. Nene, a name that you'll never forget.
Yeah, I won't tell anybody, but how many of you guys did not know that Nene was still in the NBA and with gray dreads?
We're going to get to this later in the show, but how many of you learned, like I did this weekend, that Joe Johnson is a member of the Utah Jazz? I think the Clippers found out at the same time I did.
Is Paul George right to call out C.J. Miles over the last shot?
You got to love this if you're the Cavs, right? You squeak one out over the Pacers. You play horrible defense, which is what everybody's fear, but then the game ended like this, where LeBron comes with this awkward double team on Paul George. Paul George gives it to C.J. Miles, who's like, all right, I got this. I'm here to shoot. Paul George really, really wanted the ball back. Now, yeah, that's actually worse than I thought it was the first time I saw it. Paul George, after the game, said he should get the shot.
I talked to CJ about it. Situations like that, I got to get the last shot.
Here's the only thing in that situation. Paul George, since he came into the league, last 20 seconds to tie or take the lead. 0 for 15 on those shots. I understand why he wants those shots, but there's actually no basis for him being entitled to it.
Keep in mind that Paul George is dressed like a man as well, wearing only the tuxedo jacket, who expects to be taking that shot in that situation. And you got to admit, I know he missed the shot, but C.J. Miles against Richard Jefferson is a pretty good matchup for you. And C.J. Miles got a shot in that circumstance that most teams would take late in that game situation. Paul George was double teamed. He passed the ball and then wanted it back.
You know who was wide open in that play? Lance.
Oh, we're going to do that still shot of that brief moment that Lance Stevenson was open right in the middle.
Right.
I mean, that pass isn't getting through, right? but Paul George also never gave that a second thought.
Well, I mean, he looked kind of open until you consider that was LeBron James cutting to close that gap. That's not really that open.
But that's also why Paul George was mad. Like, he might have thought of passing the ball to Lance Stevenson, but he knew damn well if Lance got it, he wasn't getting it back. He's like, all right, I thought this ball to CJ. He knows who butters the bread. Hey, man, give me the ball back.
Did you see how far away was LeBron from Lance?
Yeah.
The other side of the court, man. I'm telling you, he's scared of that guy. I'm telling you something.
Blowing in his face. He's scared. He stays away from Lance's face.
Such disrespect to Lance Stevenson, by the way, that LeBron's like, he ain't even here.
Coming up next on Highly Questionable.
That's Crawford trying to guard him. That's never a good thing.
I believe 17-year vet Jamal Crawford, by the way, on 16-year vet Joe Johnson. Wow, all these guys are so old.
My Son's TV show is brought to you by Firestone. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone. Time for more basketball. Is Phil Jackson losing Kristaps by forcing out Melo?
Isn't he losing just about everybody? When you've got Michelle Roberts, the head of the Players Union, coming out and putting out a statement saying, look, our players are not allowed to say that they want to go work somewhere else. We shouldn't have employers coming out and saying that they should work somewhere else, especially when all that's doing is creating a public pressure on a guy who's got a no-trade clause. If you're someone who plays for the Knicks and you see how they're treating Carmelo Anthony, you can't help but wonder whether your employer is someone who's going to treat you that disrespectfully down the path as well.
Now, all of that is fair, but the reason we're here with this question is because Kristaps Porzingis skipped out on his exit interview with Phil Jackson. And I'm amazed how many people are saying, oh, poor Kristaps, as opposed to, dude, you're a professional, go to your exit meeting. Because you know what you can do at your exit meeting? You can talk to Phil Jackson about whatever it is that you have a problem with. But it has been strange, a media that loves to crush people for stuff like this, all of a sudden when they put their arms around the kid and say, hey, man, it's going to be okay. Phil Jackson's doing this wrong, but he did that wrong also.
You know, I understand why Kristaps missed that meeting. He got very important things to do on Friday.
Oh, just hanging out in Central Park. That's it.
Wait a minute, is he wearing a Guy Fieri sweatshirt of some sort with flames on it?
The flagrant disrespect, though, I know where I'm supposed to be. This is where I am.
And you know good and well that Phil Jackson is saying to himself while seeing that video, wait a minute, usually when we're working, it's me who's at Central Park not doing anything.
If the Clippers can beat the Gobert-less Jazz, is it time to blow it up?
Yeah, we laugh about not knowing who plays for the Utah Jazz, but if you don't watch them, Rudy Gobert, like one of the 3 best defensive players in the NBA, 17 seconds into the game, it looked like the series was over because he's that good and that important, and that's similar to what got Kevin Durant, right? Like that knee-on-knee shot right there. They're calling it a bone bruise. I'd be shocked if we saw him again in the postseason. And again, I thought the series was over at this moment. And then the Jazz win and won game 1, right? Like the series is over. And then here's Joe Johnson, the American Dream. We call it the American Dream. Just go check out his career earnings. That's the American Dream. Here he is right here.
That's Crawford trying to guard him. That's never a good thing.
I believe 17-year vet Jamal Crawford, by the way, on 16-year vet Joe Johnson. Wow, all these guys are so old. The answer is very simply yes. If the Clippers can't beat this team without Rudy Gobert, they need to tear the whole thing down. Guess what? Even if they beat this team with Rudy Gobert, they probably need to tear the whole thing down because all they'll do is get swept by the Warriors.
They are going to beat Utah without Gobert. I don't think Utah can advance in that series, playing the entire series without Gobert. You steal a game, maybe. But this question is something that we've been asking, honest to God, for 4 years. Is it time for the Clippers to blow it up? And this is the worst of those Clippers teams. So whatever your answer was before now, this is the time that you look at the Clippers and you say, that window's closed. They're not going to win anything.
By the way, when we say blow this up, do we mean blow this up on the roster or blow this up on the guy who gets to choose the roster? Because at some point, Doc Rivers' goodwill for saving the team during the Sterling situation is going to evaporate.
Why aren't we harder on Kyle Lowry giving his consistent playoff struggles?
Yeah, the Bucks beat the Raptors in game 1 of that series. The Bucks, by the way, had the lankiest team I have ever seen in my life. Kyle Lowry, only 4 points, 2 for 11 from the floor, 0 for 6 from 3. And why are we not harder on him for this, given how poorly he's played in previous postseasons? They play in Canada. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like, yeah, he's an all-star player for the team in Canada. And so when the team in Canada comes to the United States, we don't get on him for letting us down. We haven't been watching him play.
It is a weird thing, though. Kyle Lowry this year shot 41% from 3. And as Bomani said, he was 0 for 6 from 3 in this game. That lankiness is going to be a problem of the Bucks for him the entire series. But he's someone who historically is much worse during the playoffs than he is according to his regular season averages. Normally, we don't allow all-stars to get away with that ever.
By the way, shout out to DeMar DeRozan, who much appreciated us asking this question about Kyle Lowry, because for the last couple of years, we also could have asked it about, DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan is a whiner. That's it.
What happened here? Oh, yeah, after this block.
Woo!
Got a technical foul on Greek Freak.
Why you have to block my shot like that? Come on, man. This is my home game. My family's here.
I love Ibaka holding him like you would a child to soothe him when he's whining in an airplane.
That has to really feel bad, though.
Yeah, I mean that had to feel terrible. You're down 20. They always lose in the first game of first round. They always lose that game.
How you go back to Compton with grease all up in your face like that? You know what I'm saying?
Highly questionable is broadcast from the Clevelander Hotel on beautiful South Beach, Miami. I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. Quarter peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my. Brought to you by LG G6, the big screen that fits in your hand. Time to play the game that hasn't paid taxes in years. Do you question?
Yeah, learn my lesson. You give us topics and events, and we question them.
Do you question the question?
Is this one of our old awkward interviews, or is it Doc Rivers from the other night?
When Chris has a lane to the basket and he goes for a quick 2, I mean, it sets up the opportunity. I mean, what's the philosophy on there? Is it, do you wait and say wave off an easy attack at the basket? Or in other words, he could have held up and tried to run the clock down to the final. When you were down 2,
Who would do that? Why would you ever do that?
Like to maybe 5 seconds,
so
enough
if you
time for an
miss,
offensive.
the game's over.
Right. Well, no,
that
5
makes
seconds.
no sense.
Right. I'm just asking.
No, that is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. When you're down 2,
right.
you try to score.
Exactly.
And then you put it on you don't wait.
You rely on your defense.
You score.
As quickly as you can, however
If you can score in 1 second, you score.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you always do that.
All right.
And if you can find another coach to tell you different, I want to meet him.
All right, I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
I'll let you know down there.
Yeah.
Gotta say, though, Doc is right. You get the bucket when you can get the bucket. Also, pro tip, if you're going to question a coach's strategy in front of everybody, you better sound confident as hell. That first stammer, and you are done for.
But beyond that, though, Doc is known as a very kind and gentle personality in these press conferences. But that's a man who knew that this question on this show today was going to end up being, should we blow the Clippers up? And that falls on him, and that's who was answering that question. A guy who knew that question was coming in some form or another. Ours, not that one.
By the way, after game 1, we're blowing up their team on a hypothetical.
Don't worry, Doc. Nobody's going to be asking questions like that when you're on TV next year.
Oh, man. Wow.
You get to ask the questions then, actually. It's a lot more fun.
You question everybody else.
Do you question if this kid deserved one in his ear hole?
All right, let's check this out here. We are not the earhole brigade. We usually don't tolerate the throwing of baseballs at people to solve adult problems. What do we have here?
I am here for disciplining kids, but nah, he doesn't need one in the ear hole. That would be wrong.
Well, what is that? He doesn't even need the bat. What is he doing? What?
Is that like Tim Tuffle's kid? Like 5 people who get that reference, but they all laugh very loud.
That's during a mound visit. He is making love to the air with...
Well, like, where did he learn this from, right? Because I don't feel like he just naturally got that at the moment. Is that a stretch they do at practice?
You better be good, kid. You better be a power hitter, too. You can be good as a slap hitter and still not merit what you're just doing there. You better be good at hitting the ball over the fence.
Please, that's nothing.
That's nothing? I mean... Okay, comparatively, I guess it is kind of nothing.
Hey, wow. That is pretty impressive.
Why do they have more fun playing baseball in other countries than we do in ours?
Do you question if you would feel secure?
All right, it's about Tottenham Spurs. Not to be confused with the San Antonio Spurs. They play the footy.
Who would make that confusing?
Me. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. That is an indifferent security effort.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Those guys wind up with a dilemma. Everybody likes security. Nobody thinks they're the ones who should get patted down. Now, I will tell you, though, the places that have security because they think me and mine are showing up, it's a lot more vigorous than that. Ain't nobody taking my word for nothing.
Yeah, everybody's missing the point. You're taking shots at the poor guy. You know, I mean, the point being that he's getting paid by the number of threes that he makes on a game. You know, I mean, he's making a killing. He's on an incentive program.
Keeping his line moving the fastest. It's just capitalism.
That's right. You know, he gets paid, $1 for each one he frees.
Really, $1 for each friend. My father, very familiar with the payment structure of security over in Tottenham.
That's what he charges to fill people up.
Time to play the game that could steal dust than in a foot race. See or no?
What's that saying, really? You tell us what to watch on television tonight. We tell you if we're intrigued or not.
On TNT, Grizzlies and Spurs Game 2.
Oh, come on, man. The Grizzlies don't want to watch this game. Get out of here with this. Let's go check in. Game 1, though, San Antonio won by 150 points, and there was an old man dunking in that game. Is it Vince or is it someone else? Let's see what we've got. Oh, yeah. Breakaway.
Boy, it took him a while, though.
Yeah, it did take him a while, but Vince aging a little bit better than Dwayne Wade there.
Nice.
What do you think it'll look like when Dwayne Wade's 40 years old? Bomani, are you intrigued?
All right, hadn't watched them in a while. I tuned in and saw that game 1. They had like 4 dudes I've ever heard of. Marc Gasol was playing well. The rest of them were just feeling old. Like even Mike Conley. Like I know he's not really old, but it felt old.
Poppy, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. Did somebody said Dwayne Wade? Oh. Hit it, boys.
Oh, hit it,
That's
boys.
Wow,
right.
you doing this again?
Wow, hit it, boys.
There we go.
My father's leading a jazz band now. Wow.
Oh, man.
Hit it, boys.
Doesn't have any leaf left.
Okay.
Gabby gonna send us a mean tweet about
right,
this.
Man. That ain't right.
On Root Sports Northwest, Marlins and Mariners.
Oh, the Marlins are hitting a bunch of home runs. Marcell Ozuna is on pace for like 300 RBI, and he could have had more. Look at this. Look what happened this weekend against the Mets. He's up, and he's surprising that it even stays in the park. That guy's got 5 homers already. So 1 run is in. Oh, that is a terrible slide. Yeah. And he is out because that is about how I would slide. That's what it would look like if I were doing that.
I wasn't sure that Reyes was even going to throw that ball home, but he made the relay on target.
That's embarrassing right there. Didn't even need to slide, really. Bomani, are you intrigued?
Don't think I've heard of anybody that was running around the bases or anything else like that. Like, I was there taking notes. Did one of the guys just get a new contract?
Yeah, yes, they did. Poppy, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. But listen, I haven't seen anyone slide that bat since RG3. Hit it, boys.
Again? My father's playing music with these videos. What are we doing? And we're celebrating RG3's injury? What is that? My father's mean. He's a mean old man.
On MTV UK, Just Tattoo of Us.
Just Tattoo of Us. Let's go outside of this country for entertainment. Let's see what they're doing in Britain with tattoos. Like an awful idea. Bomani, are you intrigued?
So I'm guessing she didn't like the tattoo. Like, I can't think of anything I want to say forever, let alone anything that I want you to say forever on me.
Poppy, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. You want to see my tattoo? I'll show you my tattoo. I'll show you my tattoo.
No, Poppy,
yeah, I'll show you my
Poppy,
tattoo.
no, I got hassle. Poppy, no! It's going.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching. I also have a tattoo in my front.